to examine the causes of World War I in this lecture, starting with really four main causes. One is something we've talked about before, and that is imperialism, the really race to control as much territory, which also gave you control of more resources. And this competition was for land in Africa, Asia, and the Pacific. The second reason is militarism, and this is really in Europe. You had countries that were building up these huge militaries, and because they were building up these huge militaries, the military was gaining more power, and because they began to gain more power, they began to insert themselves into the political processes of these countries, and that led to conflict. Here is the buildup of the military in Germany, Russia. These are German U-boats or underwater boats, which are submarines. And France. These are planes that would be used in war. The third reason is nationalism. This is, of course, nationalism is pride in your country, but this type of nationalism is where you actually act against other countries in the best interest of your country at the expense of other countries. This is usually taking territory. The best example during World War I is this region in the red dot called Alsace-Lorraine, which is up in the northern part of France. It is full of German speakers, but also it is a very economically powerful part of the country, a lot of factories. So France controls it and had controlled it traditionally, even though it had German speakers in it. Germany wants it because it has German speakers in it and because those factories mean money. So this is kind of a case where you have an ethnic minority inside another country, and the ethnic minority may actually have allegiance to a country that it doesn't live in. And the fourth reason is this series of alliances before World War I that not everybody was aware of, which we'll talk about in greater detail in a second. But alliances are treaties or agreements between countries that sort of when you declare war on someone, when someone declares war on a country that you have an alliance with, you back that country up and declare war on that other country. So let's talk about the trigger for the war, which was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, who was one of the royal family of Serbia, or of Austria. What happened was a group called the Black Hand assassinated him, and there was territory that Austria wanted, so they used that assassination as an excuse to declare war on Serbia. Here you see Ferdinand the day he was assassinated on this parade route. There's his wife. And here are some members of the Black Hand that were arrested right after he was assassinated. What this did was you had those alliances we talked about earlier, and because you had this insane, complicated system of alliances which were sort of secret, most people didn't know about them, and other countries didn't know about some of them, Austria, not a huge country, declared war on Serbia, which was a small country, and this conflict between these two relatively minor countries led to Serbia's ally Russia declaring war on Austria, Austria's ally Germany declaring war on Russia, Russia's ally France declaring war on Germany, and also France's ally England declaring war also on Germany. So what quickly became a tiny conflict between two minor countries became a European war across the entire continent, and it eventually spread to other continents and became a world war. Warfare itself will change during this war. Trench warfare will be how most of the war is fought during the first 6 or 7 years of this war. The sides kind of fall into a stalemate, no side gaining either advantage, and the soldiers dig trenches. And they dig trenches and stay in them, and it's difficult to root your enemy out of those trenches. And the area between the two trenches is called no man's land. Every once in a while, one side will rise out of their trench and charge across no man's land, which usually didn't end well for that side. Trenches kind of look like this. This is the front of the trench, barbed wire in front. This would be where the soldiers stand and shoot. Then there's a series of trenches that lead back to where officers might be, and then where the heavy artillery is back here. Along the way, there will be certain points where there are machine guns, so if your enemy does get in your trench, they can't get too far back because they'll be mowed down by machine guns. This is what a side view looks like. You'd stand on here to shoot over the top. It's up high enough you can shoot over the barbed wire and anybody coming. Machine guns are back here also shooting over. It's pretty nasty business. This is an above view of German on this side and French on this side trenches. This is no man's land. And we'll finish this slide in just a second.